In 2020, I made a super myth video on Monster Hunter World that wouldn't be too different from reading a Wikipedia article on the game. So you know what? Let's throw away that experience and start anew, with a review that is better, bigger, and far more engaging. Just like Monster Hunter Rise. This fucking game is just... Yeah, pretty much. I could simply tell you to take everything you like about Monster Hunter World, make it even better, add more great stuff on top of it, and that's what Rise is. But you guys wouldn't be satisfied with me just saying that, would you? So let me break down for you, step by step, why Monster Hunter Rise is a marvelous game you should definitely try out. Also, before I begin, and because I don't want to have potential raging elitists in the comments going, actually, I will clarify that the comparisons that I will inevitably make during the video will be directed towards Monster Hunter World because it's the only one I have any true experience with. Are we okay with that? Good! Let's begin! My first impressions of the game when it was announced were fairly positive, but left me with some doubts. Video game trailers are normally bound to look better than the final product. So since this is a Nintendo Switch game, it was easy to think, oh my, this is gonna be butchered Monster Hunter World visuals and will run like ass, right? And sure, that's kind of right. Rise doesn't look as visually stunning as World. But don't let that fool you, because Rise delivers in the graphics department, and then some! You have gorgeous areas with multiple layers of depth. Monsters have a strong presence and a lot of care put in their designs. And we cannot ignore how detailed the characters look, with things like creating your own avatar, or close-ups of other characters. You wouldn't even think you're playing a Switch game! This in particular impressed me! Some of the best looking games on the console are usually more cartoony, or shonen if you prefer. But even though Rise stuck to being more realistic, it ended up delivering top-notch visuals. The RE engine continues to prove, once again, why it is one of the greatest things Capcom has created. And the coolest part about it is that this spectacle doesn't compromise performance. The animations for both monsters and hunters are as smooth as butter. Special mention to the breakdancing your avatar does while playing the hunting horn. You know, they are having a good time with that weapon. And even while playing online with friends, I rarely experience frame drops or lag. This last part is super important, because that way, there's nothing that will get between you and the game. Of course, we can't ignore the sound department. The soundtrack is fantastic! Striking a more traditional sound with the game's feudal theme, it builds the right tension to really set the tone while fighting gigantic monsters, but also knows when to relax the player with soothing melodies after every battle. What really adds to the combat is the sound design. Quickly slashing through a monster, filling them with bullets, or just smashing their head with brute force, it makes every strike have real strength behind it. And once again, I love being able to distinguish a monster by their cry alone.
Buenas noches, Tetranodon.
Lastly, the English voice acting wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I was expecting to get annoyed by your characters never shutting themselves up in the heat of action. But surprisingly, it's pretty tame stuff. And the performances are fine. Not outstanding, just fine. Fundamentally, the combat is about the same as it was in Monster Hunter World, where you are given lots of different weapons to deal with the monsters, with each and every single one of them being capable of delivering something different. Mobility, special techniques, damage types, unique gimmicks, all of that is something that needs to be considered. And that is a great thing, because no matter what type of player you are bound to find something that accommodates your style. This is something that you could say all Monster Hunter games share, and Rise doesn't really stray too far from the concepts the series is known for, but rather, it polishes them, adds great new mechanics, and what might be my personal favorite improvement, it speeds things up. One of the main reasons I found it hard to get into classic Monster Hunter games is because everything felt slower and clunkier in comparison to World. I'm not saying that they are terrible by any means. I'm willing to give them another shot someday. But the point I'm trying to make is that World felt so seamless and fast that it was easier to adapt to. And somehow, Rise managed to be even faster and more fun. And this applies on so many levels. Beginning a quest is just as easy as select it, confirm, and BAM! You are thrown right into the action. Changing your equipment is super quick. You have a new dog partner that can zoom you to your objective in just a few seconds. Tell your friends the online lobby code is 1111 and they'll be there in less than a minute. Something that particularly stood out to me was how effortless it was to start hunting with other players. In World, if you wanted to have friends help you to progress, you had to meet certain requirements and watch the monster's introduction cutscene before they could join. That was unnecessarily tedious and slow, but Rise fixed that by letting your friends join at any given moment, with the only restriction being, are you high rank or not? And it gets better! Say you are rank 6, and you help a friend beat a rank 7 quest. By the time you get to rank 7, that quest will count as if you already did it! And god, do I feel thankful that the story this time is super basic. World tried to take itself too seriously, and I couldn't care less about it. Especially because it slowed down the pacing. Rise just said, hey, that shit was dumb. Let's just let the players progress at their own leisure. I love everything I just talked about, because it really shows that this game respects your time and keeps things moving at a pleasant pace. And keep in mind, those are just quality of life improvements. Because the newest additions brought an extra degree of speed and mobility to the gameplay itself. Monster Hunter Rise introduced a mechanic known as the Wirebug. What does it do? Pretty much everything. It can help you to swing around, let you run through any wall, fast travel to other areas, break your fall if a monster is juggling you, or give you incredibly useful weapon skills, from counterattacks, extra mobility options, and other ones that enhance your weapon's unique gimmick. The best part about the Wirebugs is that they are not exploitable. They have a cooldown period, depending on the actions you do. And that's where the new layer of depth comes in. When's the best moment to use them? Is it better to break your fall or lie on the ground until the monster ceases its attacks? Do you go full Sonic the Hedgehog with your hammer? Or do you wait for a better angle to rack up more damage? It sucks big time when you get interrupted and have to wait to try again. But if you sharpen your reflexes and learn to read attack patterns, you'll constantly find yourself going It's immensely satisfying. And that's only the added bonus that came in with the Wirebox. Because the core combat, the main essence of Monster Hunter, is just as incredible as before. With a healthy roster of monsters, each one having their own unique behaviors and attacks to take you down, in conjunction with all the different weapons you can make, and how unpredictable battles can develop, it can make every encounter feel so different from one another, while still being fun. I actually went and tried more than 3 different weapons this time around. And I can't believe how I missed on so much great stuff. It made me approach combat in different ways, but never did I ever feel bored. One thing I quite liked was how they gave a bigger purpose to other aspects of the series, mainly the exploration. Just like Worth, Rise has areas with more vertical design and a wider scope. But once you throw the Wirebug into the mix, it brings out 2 particular feelings. First is the same thing I get when I play games like Gravity Rush, where moving through the map feels so good that getting to your objective is just as fun as the objective itself. The other feeling is something I have experienced with Super Mario Odyssey or Breath of the Wild. That sense of not having any barriers while exploring. If you see something in the distance, you can actually reach it and make it worth your time. Sure, they don't really compare, since Rise's maps are much smaller. You can cover a map in about half an hour. But Rise makes up for this by putting a higher emphasis on killing the smaller monsters and gathering materials for certain sets, and gaining buffs for the quests you're currently on. This makes taking small detours worth your time, and they never feel tedious because, as I said, simply moving around the map is extremely fun. Also, can I make a quick detour to talk about the new Rampage mode? I like it! I played a lot of tower defense flash games on my earlier internet years, and that's what this mode is. The main difference being that you're directly involved with everything that happens during the quest, and that you have a lot of optional objectives that give you better ranks and rewards. They are tense, fast, and frantic. Not my favorite way to play Monster Hunter, but something I enjoy playing with friends from time to time, and miles better than the weird giant battles from the prequel. I know I'm making it sound like Monster Hunter Rise is a perfect game, but the worst thing I can say about it is that it's easier than World, and that's not really a bad thing. This difficulty mostly comes due to all the stuff you can do and the mobility you have. But it doesn't cross the line to becoming a game that handholds you and treats you like an idiot. Understanding the monsters is still a crucial part, as refusing to learn from them can get you killed in no time. And there is some challenge in mastering a weapon. So I can say, if you're a person who is looking to get into the series, Rise is very welcoming to newcomers. I do have to add though, at first the game might seem a bit overwhelming. The learning curve is very harsh and intimidating. It will take a while to get used to, since the combat has an entirely different feel from your average action game. The menus and certain commands are not very intuitive, and the tutorials, simply put, suck. But if you take the time, or have an experienced friend that can help you, you'll see why we can easily call Rise one of the best games the Switch has to offer. I can't make this any more obvious. I fell in love with this game. Even after 70 hours of gameplay, I'm still having a ton of fun with it. I'm aware there's extra content on the way. But even at the base package, you are getting your money's worth. Monster Hunter Rise is a game that looks great, performs surprisingly well, has incredible music, hyper boss battles, and satisfying gameplay. When I play this, I feel powerful and capable. But since the monsters are also like that, it makes all my battles much more challenging, rewarding, and fun.